Morning YouTube, Mr. Mo here. What I have for today is the water filter. Now you would have seen a couple of videos ago I done my inch bag review, and this is the water filter that you would have seen me pulling out from the middle pouch. So what I've done today is I've brought it out because I'd like to talk through it with you and have a look, and a bit later on we'll actually go and test it and I'll show you how it works. But we'll talk through the various components now. And then here and there I'll slot some B-roll footage in so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing we should mention is this is not the bag that comes with the filter. I'll put a photo up of the bag that you will actually receive if you have it, but this is not the bag you will get. So first and foremost, in the bag is the water filter itself, okay? And don't get me wrong, it's called the Pocket Katadyne, and I think the only thing that's pocket about it is you need fairly deep pockets to buy the thing, okay? It is expensive. Here in the UK it comes in about £330. Now whether or not you can justify that kind of money on a water filter is entirely up to yourself, but I've done some maths and some homework there, and it basically works out the claimed said amount of water that this can filter is 50,000 litres, okay, which is a huge amount of water. And I worked it out that per litre it costs 0.06 pence per litre. So when you think about it, it's not bad value for money. Real terms, what does that mean? Presuming I went camping on a Friday night, a Saturday night and a Sunday, and I use 5 litres every single day, then that would basically be 15 litres. I could do that every single weekend for the year, and I could do it for 60 years. So when you look at it that way, it is a very, very good investment of money. It's very, very well made. It is Swiss made, absolutely fantastic bit of kit. It's made of stainless steel, or it could be aluminium, sorry, I should have fact checked that, but nevertheless it is very, very, very robust, this filter. And when we go out I'll show you exactly what I mean by that when we go and use it. It's extremely good quality to use. It's very easy to take apart. There's a bottom bit here, and as I'm taking this apart, obviously I'll put some photographs up so you can see the kind of quality that you're getting on this water filter. And then you can take that off, a little bit of water in there, and you can see here this is the actual filter unit itself. It's a 0.2 micron filter. So what does that actually mean? Basically the size of the holes on this filter is 0.2, so the smaller the number, the smaller the hole. And basically what's happening there is it is going to filter out all the stuff out of the water. And I say stuff at the moment, and I will explain as I go on. When you look at the literature of this filter, it basically says that it will filter out 99.9% of bacteria, especially with regards to Cryptosporidium and Giardia. Now, I love how the manufacturers always just put that 99.9%. They never ever say it's 100%, and there's good reasons for that. Those are two of the ones, those are the common ones that most of us would find here in our water. Now, I did have a look for leptospirosis because that's another bacteria that lives in the water, and it never said anything about leptospirosis. And when I went and actually looked at the size, leptospirosis in diameter, or at the bottom, is actually 0.1. So it means that there may be the possibility that bits of certain bacteria get pushed through the filter. Now normally a lot of filters we use are gravity fed, which means they trickle down through the filter and then they slowly drip. That indeed was the case with the Millbank bag, which at a rough guess, I'm guessing that's about 10 microns there, because it's just a drip, but it does produce clear water. Now remember, anything under 0.4 microns is not, you're not going to be able to see that with the human eye. You would need a microscope to see that. But it may be the case that some leptospirosis or a bit of cryptosporidium or something like that does get through the water filter. So again, the fact is some bacteria may pass through this water filter, and viruses most certainly will. Now, the difference between bacteria and viruses is actually that a bacteria is a living thing. If it gets inside your system, it is going to cause you an awful lot. You will vomit. You basically be spraying from both ends. So the bacteria is bad. Now, if you're in a situation where you are actually reliant on water, the last thing you need to be doing is basically spraying from all ends. That doesn't make sense. So just be very, very careful when you're buying this filter, and understand why are you buying it for. And I mean that as in respect to, if you're planning a kit for the first time and you want to know what to put in it. Basically, if you're a father and you have kids under the age of 5, you maybe got a pregnant wife, and maybe you have your elderly parents that you foresee being in that situation with you, then it would probably be better idea to spend that £330 on a proper cooking system where you can boil the water and remove absolutely everything, because children are really susceptible to gastro problems. Also, pregnant women, don't subject them to viruses. There's a few nasty ones out there. And the elderly, and indeed anyone with a immune system that's compromised, someone with HIV for example, this is probably not the way. If you've got those type of people in your group that you're catering for, then just boil your water. I mean, for £300 and odd, you can practically buy a wood burning stove and keep that going all day. Okay, that said, I'm not knocking the filter. With regards to filtration systems that's on the market today for hikers, campers, etc., basically portable systems, this is the best that money can buy. This is absolutely really, really great piece of equipment. So I just need you to be aware that there is other alternatives out there depending on who you are going to be catering for. Okay, so that is the filter, and like I said, later on we'll go across and we'll actually have a look at how it filters water. We'll look at the flow rate, and I'll show you that there. So over and above that, what comes with the filter is it comes with this little tube here, and this tube goes on the top end, and it has a universal bottle clip, so you can just stick it in your Nalgene and that stops it from jumping out when you're pumping the water through. It's the total weight of the filter is 550 grams. Okay, I'll stick a little bit up in the corner for you guys across in America so you can see what it is in pounds and ounces. And then on the bottom here it comes with another tube, and this is a pre-filter that's in here, which is 130 microns. If you're using this in really polluted water, then I would suggest putting a coffee filter or a bandana or something else over this, just to make sure that you're taking out the sediment, the algae, the protozoas and all that kind of stuff before it even hits this pre-filter. So of course the claimed is 50,000 litres. The more you soil the water, or the more contaminants that are in the water and it starts to block up, you need to clean it, and therefore it's going to drastically reduce the lifespan of the filter. Okay, I've had a few water filters that I've used in the past, and this is by far the best one. And what I love about it is because it can be dismantled and cleaned, which some of the other ones you can't. So if they get blocked up, that's them pretty much useless. And I have paid £100 or so for such a filter. I've used it, I've been away for a week, and then when I've came back, it just doesn't feel the same. So this one here does come with a scrubbing pad to make sure that you can clean the gunk off it basically. It also comes with a spare O-ring that's in the bag. I'm not going to take it out because I can guarantee you I will lose it here. It comes with some lube for those O-rings, and then it comes with this part here, and this is the gauge that goes over the filter, and it tells you when you need to buy a replacement cartridge. You can buy them all separately, which is another great thing about this water filter, is that you can indeed get all the parts separately. Put that back in there. Other things I have in the bag as shown is I have some Hydro Boost. In a situation where you're relying on a lot of water, you know, it's quite easy to start flushing all the electrolytes out of your system, so it's very advisable to have something like that. Be careful with the ones you buy, because there is a difference between, a lot of people buy vitamin tablets, and they're fine. I mean, don't get me wrong, you'll get some vitamins from them, but you won't get the electrolytes. So make sure you buy the electrolyte ones to replace those salts. And actually, on that note, going back, when you look at, we talked a bit earlier on about leptospirosis. Leptospirosis is basically comes from, it can come from rats' urine. It can last a long time in moist soil and the right conditions. It's going to last for a very long time, right up till about 3 months. There is a bit of a myth there that if a rat or something like that jumps up onto the cans, say for instance in a warehouse, and then you open the can and drink it, you may actually be introducing that into your system. Now that might be true, but if you read the literature on leptospirosis, it does not last very long on a dry surface. It doesn't give you a time, it just said rapid death will ensure. Now, another way to get rid of leptospirosis is actually salt, because it doesn't like that, and it can last up to 2 or 3 hours within there. So if that's an issue and you do filter that out into a water bottle, it may be worth your while just to put a little pinch of salt in there, give it a shake, and then sit it to one side for another couple of hours. So if there is any residual part of the strain, then that may kill that off as well. Okay, that's worth noting. But it really is, I mean, obviously it depends on what part of the world you're operating in. Here in Scotland, don't foresee a lot of bacteria and things in our water sources. We have fast flowing water. It is exceptionally clean, exactly the same as if you were in New Zealand or Canada or Alaska. You wouldn't expect to find that. But if that situation is where you're abroad in Africa, India, someplace like that, then you really need to be watching out for the water, because it's going to be really heavy with sediment. And also what you have to be very aware of as well is that most of these bacteria and viruses live in the feces of animals. So if you're collecting water from a source where there's lots of agricultural farmland around and you have a big flood, then that's going to wash all of that out of the field straight into the water course. So again, it depends on what you want this filter for. If you do take sediment from the water, this here is something that I bought basically as I was doing a little bit of research on this. I bought this because obviously if you are in an area where there's lots of sediment in the water, there's absolutely no harm whatsoever to collect your water in a bucket and then leave it aside and then let that filter down, and all the sediment will basically sit at the bottom of this bucket and you can wash it out later. The other great thing about this is obviously a water container. So you could actually, I mean it's quite flimsy, but there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't put some willow in there to hold it out, and then you can actually sit that underneath a tarp and collect rainwater. That would work a treat here in Scotland, trust me. That would take no time at all, filling up off a big tap. And also other way, you could also use this as a bucket for going foraging, etc. So it's a really handy bit of equipment to have. And again, we'll demonstrate that a little bit later on in the video, because you know it may be worthwhile actually coming down to the stream or the river, collecting your water and then actually taking it back to camp. And if you have a fixed camp, then you've probably got the means to boil water, which is exactly what we're doing today. I don't know if you can hear the fire behind me, but John is sitting back there like a little hermit, building a fire for a brew for us. There we go, and you can hear the sticks. And speaking of brews, guys, I will just have a little drink there. So moving on, Next in the bag we have a MSR water bag. So again, if you're not in a fixed camp and you're moving through and you have limited opportunity to collect the water, then it's worth your while filling this up and putting it in your rucksack or carrying it with you. This holds 3 litres and I've actually changed it out so it's got the little tap on it to fill up your water, etc. But I would always recommend boiling your water if you have that opportunity to do so. What else is there to say about the water filter? Yeah, probably not much more than that. What I'll do now is I will go over, I will reposition the camera, and then we will start to show you how it works basically. Okay, so I'll catch you in 5, guys. Okay folks, what I've brought today is I've brought the Nalgene. This is a 1 litre Nalgene, and it gives the advantage of you can see into it. So first of all, I'm doing this here at the camera. Ideally we would want to be up there with the fast flowing river, but for video purposes it's worth saying that we can just drop that into there. You can set the different filter, different lengths, so it sits down, which is fantastic. Now the good thing about this Katadyne Pocket Filter as well is, you know, if you were to drop it, it's not really going to make much of a difference. I think I'm just going to have to reside to getting wet for you guys today. Like I said, universal bottle holder that goes on, you can clip in there, try and keep it there. Let's see, let me set this up just so you, hopefully, it's not going to be easy one-handed. There we go, I'll just sit at the side. There we go, I can sit there. There we go, we should do that. Now, it's important to note that when you start filtering this water through, when you first buy this filter, I would strongly suggest you put a couple of litres through it just to take any dust off the ceramic filter and filter that out, because I wouldn't fancy having that. Also, when you store it for long periods of time, it's worth, when you come back out, putting maybe a litre through it. I mean, at 50,000 litres, I guess you can spare some. Hopefully you can see that, and indeed what I'll do is I'll come back and readjust the camera so you can try and see that better. But this will give you an idea of the flow rate. So already you can see, now it says in the book it is about 1 minute for 1 litre, and I would say that's probably bang on. So again, I've not used this for a few weeks now, so I'll tip that out. Hello dog, don't you dare shake yourself here, lady. And then there you go again. I mean, it's effortless, it really is. I mean, I can tell straight away, that's just sitting there. Try your best not to have it. Here's fine actually, because there's a lot of stones, so it's not really a lot of sand and sediment on the bottom here, it's more stony, so that's absolutely fine. Thanks Mika. Wet back from the dog. And there you go, what we got in there so far. I'm just going to have to get wet for you guys. I'll sit it there. Now that it's got some in it, it shouldn't fall over. Hopefully you can see that filling up just fine. And there, I'll take it out at this point. There we go guys. Okay, and then what we can do is have a drink. Now, it tastes pretty good. It doesn't have that horrible taste that you do get from some filters. It's actually very nice, and of course it's freezing cold, which makes a difference, right? Bra. So yeah, all in guys, this is a fantastic water filter to have. Okay guys, sorry about the jump cut there. What I had to do is when I was walking back up to make a brew, I could start to feel the rain hitting me on the head and coming down the forehead, so I made a decision that it was probably best just to pack up the kit there and then. The video camera I have does not fare very well in wet weather, and I'm actually really glad I did so, because it took me about 15 minutes to pack the gear up, about another 5 minutes to walk back to the car, and then 15 minutes to walk home. So by the time I got here, this is what I came home to. So as you can see, it was definitely the right decision. That rain was on for the rest of the day. So I went back, I had an opportunity to go back over and review the footage that I'd already made, and then basically I feel the review was fine and I feel it was enough. But obviously I wanted to finish the video off just to bring you my final thoughts on that water filter, and who it's good for, who it's not particularly good for, is it worth the investment, because it is a lot of money. And basically in a nutshell, my conclusion is absolutely 100%. If you are in the business of going off camping, truck base, rucksacks, anything like that, then this water filter here is probably definitely the best you're going to be able to buy for the money. As explained earlier on in the video, it works out at like 0.006 pence per litre, so in the grand scheme of things it's a really good investment if you have that money up front. Bacteria wise, it's going to take out almost everything. What I did forget to say when I had a look back on that is, obviously normal filters are gravity fed, which is great. There's no force behind that, and when you put a little bit of force behind anything, then it has that possibility to push through bits that normally wouldn't come through if it was just being gravity fed. And that's probably why the manufacturer of the filter claims that it's 99.9%, because no matter if you are forcing something through a filter, especially if the water's quite contaminated, then there is that possibility that bacteria will come through. Now viruses, as we said, viruses will almost certainly come through it because they are smaller than 0.2 microns. But to be honest, if you're watching this YouTube video in the comfort of your home, then you probably come from a country where you don't need to particularly worry about viruses in the water. Most people in the West have been vaccinated against those at a young age. The only concern you have with that is if you go off travelling to places like Africa or the Amazon and things, where you may not, where there is other viruses and bacteria out there that you might be more partial to receiving. But most people nowadays in the West, when they go off travelling to these countries, normally get the various injections and jags before they go, so you're sound there. So all in all, you really want to just be looking about the bacteria side of things, and for that there is no better water filter on the market. So for me, it's extremely, actually what I love about this more than anything is the fact that you can take it apart. So just go through that again in case it wasn't quite clear. This is highly I mean, you can take it apart and you can clean it, okay? You've got the cleaning bits and pieces here that comes supplied with the filter. Indeed, I'll just actually show you, perhaps it wasn't quite clear from the picture, but you have this. When that can easily fit over the water filter, then or the ceramic part of the filter, then it's time to replace the cartridge. But on a whole, you're not going to get better bang for buck, so this is really worth it. One of the things I want to start introducing into my videos, I don't know if there's a demand for it, but I feel after the few videos that I've now been on, I feel that there's definitely a need for me to do a complete video on water filtration, water purification, and all the things that come along with it. Rather than doing little bits and pieces in separate videos, I will do one for all water, if that makes sense. And basically what's coming up in the future for the channel is, next up is the survival kit, the little tin. Probably going to be about a month before I can bring that to you. I have a well needed rest where I'm taking my wife across to Berlin for 5 days. I'm really looking forward to that. So there'll not be anything happening there. When I get back, I shall start on the small survival kit. And over the winter months, now that we're starting to come into winter, the whole water series will be open, and I'll do a really good video on that and bring it to you, so it's all in one place, as I said, rather than scattered over everywhere. One of the things I'd like to talk about is with regards to foraging and what you can see. And there's a little plant out there which is called Ranunculus repens, or people will know it as the creeping buttercup. It's more so here in Europe as opposed to the States. If you can identify this plant, then you know you are close to a water source. So I'll put a little picture of it up there, and you can go off and do your research there. Now, the plant itself is poisonous, so you don't want to be taking your water right from it. Again, you don't want to be playing with the plant, because the sap inside the plant can make the skin blister. But it is absolutely a fantastic visual representation of where that water might be. So if you're out in fields, etc., and you're looking for water courses, if you can see a patch of the Ranunculus repens, which actually means little frog, I believe, then that's a really great indicator as to where that water is. So you would then go over there and you would then start to explore and do your business from there. Even if you have to dig from it, again, you can go through the process of digging a gypsy well, and that's something that I will bring to you in that whole water filtration series. We'll do a complete video on it. There's a lot of questions that I keep getting asked in and around water, but I guess in summary, the best way that you can sum that up is, unless you're going to stop and boil your water at every single opportunity you have, which is not always necessary depending upon the situation you are in, then you need a water filter. And if you need a water filter, or you've recognised that is something that you want, you need, you require for your group, then there is no better one on the market than the one I've just shown you. Again, I do have to stress, because I like to be sort of neutral. I'm not being paid or in any way, shape or form to say the things about this water filter. So I guess I would go back to what I was saying earlier. If you're immunocompromised, you have elderly people, young children, then it's perhaps best just to take that water, filter it out and boil it. But if that's not possible, this is for you. Okay guys, like I said, sorry about the jump cut, but when it rains in Scotland, it rains, and yeah, it's difficult, especially at this time of year. I believe we were just getting the tail end of the hurricane that was across in America. I think the first one was Fiona, and then indeed there's been Hurricane Ian. So yeah, this time of year it is very wet and windy across here in Scotland. But that's not going to stop me. I'm just going to have to try and find some way of securing the camera outside when it rains, because there is certainly a lot more to come on this channel. Okay guys, so thanks very much. Again, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please like and comment. The comments mean more to me than anything, but if you can find it within yourselves to push the button and subscribe and get the notifications to the channel, that is greatly appreciated. I try to answer every comment. Some comments, yeah, there's always going to be a few comments that are a bit below the belt, let's say it that way. I will try to answer them and be polite, but the thing is I'm happy to have that debate with you guys if you want to comment, but I'm certainly not going to be getting involved in any arguments online with anyone. So if you make really horrendous, nasty comments to me on my channel, they will be deleted. If you come at it professionally and you ask the questions, I will endeavour to answer back to you. If I don't know the answer, I know someone who does know the answer, put it that way. And again, I will come back to you. So please comment, tell me if there's anything that you particularly like to see, and I will try and address it over the winter months. So I guess from here out then, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye now.